The November 30th organizational meeting of the Fairfield Board of Education is called to order. Present, we have Ms. Rotelli, Ms. Guernsey, Mrs. Gerber, myself, Mrs. Vitale, Superintendent Cummings, Mr. Asa, Mrs. Maxon-Cannelli, Mr. Peterson, and Ms. Kelly. Welcome. Ask you all to please rise for the pledge. Ms. Rotelli, will you lead us in the pledge? Okay, moving on to election of temporary chair, secretary, that in accordance with the bylaws, Superintendent Mike Cummings serve as temporary chair secretary during the election of board officers. Can I have a motion? Mrs. Gerber, a second. Mrs. Maxon-Cannelli, all in favor? Motion carries 9-0. Oh, 8-0. Mr. Cummings?
Good evening, everyone. So we're going to work through our nominations for officers, and we're going to begin with the chair nomination. Is there a nomination for chair? Yes, Ms. Guernsey.
I nominate Christine Vitale for chair.
Is there a second? I don't do have to second. Oh, take that as a script. Ms. Vitale, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Is there another nomination for chair? All in favor of Ms. Vitale for chair? Okay. Ms. Guernsey, Ms. Gerber, Ms. Vitale, Mr. Asa, Ms. Maxon-Cannelli, Mr. Peterson, Ms. Kelly. All opposed to chair, Ms. Vitale for chair? Ms. Rotelli. Okay. So Ms. Vitale is elected chair. Congratulations. Is there a nomination for vice chair? Ms. Rotelli.
I'd like to nominate Nick Asa, please.
Thank you. Mr. Asa, do you accept this nomination?
I do, thank you.
Is there another nomination for the vice chair? Okay, seeing none. All in favor of Mr. Asa for the role of vice chair? Ms. Rotelli, Ms. Guernsey, Ms. Gerber, Ms. Vitale, Mr. Asa, Ms. Maxon-Cannelli, Mr. Peterson, and Ms. Kelly. Thank you. Any opposed? I would assume that's a no. Okay. So, Mr. Asa, congratulations, you're elected vice chair. Finally, for the role of secretary, is there a nomination for the role of secretary? Ms. Vitale?
I nominate Mrs. Gerber.
Mrs. Gerber, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Is there another nomination for secretary? Okay, seeing none. All in favor of Ms. Gerber for secretary? Ms. Rotelli, Ms. Guernsey, Ms. Gerber, Ms. Vitale, Mr. Asa, Ms. Maxon-Cannelli, Mr. Peterson, and Ms. Kelly. And any opposed? Okay, seeing none. So, Ms. Gerber, congratulations. You've been elected secretary of the Fairfield Board of Education. Now, I happily yield my temporary chair assignment to Ms. Vitale.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings. And take a moment of personal privilege just to thank the board for your support. It's been a long 2 years. Looking forward to continuing our work. Things are starting to get back to normal, but we aren't there yet. But I've said it before, I said it again. I can't think of 10, including central office staff, who I would be on this journey with. So I thank you and look forward to the year ahead. Okay. With that, discussion of Board of Education bylaws. During this organizational meeting, it's a time for us just to review the bylaws. We can revise, vote upon the bylaws at any time at a special meeting throughout the year, but this is just an opportunity if anybody has any suggested changes that they could bring to the floor. Mrs. Maxon-Cannelli.
Yes, I'll be looking to craft wording for a curriculum and instruction subcommittee to bring that back after a 10-year hiatus. So I'll be working on that language.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mrs. Maxon-Cannelli. Mr. Asa.
I just wanted to say that I know there's been discussion and everything was put on hold with our facilities and utilization and building use talks. But as we move forward, just putting it out there that the board may have to come up with an amendment to an existing committee or potentially an ad hoc or something, but it's something that I think we should discuss in the near future on how we're going to move forward with those talks and that process that we need to get back up and going.
Thank you, Mr. Asa. Anyone else? For the board, I gave you a couple suggested, really more housekeeping. Under duties of officers for the chair shall appoint members of the board to act as liaisons to the following bodies. I would like to formally add the Special Education PTA, SEPTA. We've had a representative doing this job and just thought it'd be helpful just to formally recognize it in our bylaws. The same with Fairfield Cares Community Coalition. Ms. Jacobson currently, serves on that body and represents the board, but moving forward, it's an important organization in our community, especially now that we are the fiduciary on the grant, and thought it would be good to add it as an official role. Also, under Section 4, Board Evaluation, just looking to revisit that. Right now, the current bylaw has it that each year at this meeting, we would set the date for a self-evaluation to take place no later than May. Just suggesting that we set the date when we publish the calendar, but have that meeting take place no later than July. And the reasoning is really May just very often gets to be, leading up to May, it's a very busy time of year with the budget. We have a couple meetings in April. Feels like we've kind of fitted in the midst of some other very busy meetings with not only our board, but with other town boards, and just a little bit of extra time might, give us the opportunity to, get past our busy season. So asking for the board's consideration with that and welcome any feedback to those two suggestions. Okay. Also, I didn't share it in my printed copy, but we had talked about just the board agenda, potentially exploring adding a consent agenda to our regular agenda. Something, don't really have it firmed up yet, but something I'm considering moving forward as a way of possibly making our meetings just more efficient. And that's where I am. Again, we have time at any point. Board members have any other suggestions, I invite you just to forward them to me and we can add them to a future meeting agenda. Okay, moving on, discussion of Board of Education member committee and liaison assignments. At your seat, we have what was the current responsibilities. This list is going to change. Being that we have a new board member, we need to give her some extra jobs and take Ms. Pitko off of the list. Also, I invite board members, just if you're looking for a change, now is the time that we usually reassign board members. So I ask you just over the next week or so to please let me know if you're looking for something new. I think it's good to try different committees, so I might be reaching out to members asking if you would consider another assignment, simply just to expand our breadth of experience on the board. Any questions or comments? Thoughts? Mr. Asa.
Do you mind just refreshing? Do we generally get these final assignments in December? And then we plan for the following year?
Yeah, hoping to just wrap this up over the next couple weeks, I didn't think it was appropriate to make the assignments until after new officers were elected. So I would be, in addition to just getting feedback from the board, we'll be consulting with board leadership just to finalize those in the coming weeks.
So just to reiterate, if anybody's looking for a change, they should get that to you ASAP.
Yes.
Thank you.
Also at your seats is a draft of the 2022 Board of Education calendar. Ask you to take a minute to take a look at that. If you know that there's automatically a conflict on this list, please let me know. Mrs. Gerber?
Yeah, just really quickly looking at this, I see the June 14th meeting is also the last day of school. I guess the assumption would be, I'm sure I'm jinxing things by saying it's going to stay that, but if it did stay that as the last day of school, I'm assuming we would move our meeting since the last day of school is usually graduation. So,
Yes.
okay, so that'll be a special meeting if we need to move it.
Thank you, Mrs. Gerber. Any other discussion? Mrs. Maxinelli?
Just a question, again, it's not that I'm celebrating it, but on Tuesday, September 27th, has it ever been an issue in the past regarding Rosh Hashanah being, since it is a 2-day holiday? Again, I know we recognize it as a district only on the 1 day, but just as something to consider.
I don't have an answer if it's been an issue in the past. You probably, and Mrs. Gerber could answer that. Mr. Cummings, do you have anything to add?
I would only say that for staff who celebrate that, honor that day, we do also give them that day off, so it may impact some staff's ability to attend a meeting.
We can revisit that date. Thank you, Mrs. Mascanelli. Any other questions, suggestions? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Fratelli, seconded by Mrs. Gerber. All in favor? Okay, we'll have to take a 15-minute break until our regular meeting begins.